How do you feel about athletes talking about politics?
Listen, you play basketball, you dribble the ball, you can be a king, whatever you want to call yourself, stay out of it.
I think I heard this one before.
So keep the political commentary to yourself, or as someone once said, shut up and dribble.
LeBron James speaking out about politics, athletes speaking out about politics. How do you feel about that?
I think that's just terrible. We don't need to see that. The major sports industries, the NBA, specifically.
Wrong for two reasons. First, the NFL remains king not just among sponsorship revenue, but is the most watched program in the country.
The NFL have become very politicized. And it's interesting how that works, too. It has to do with who owns the teams. And that's another subject matter. But whoever owns the teams owns the players, and they're going to be their spokespersons for their agendas. And that's just terrible.
Woefully misguided. The majority of NFL owners support the very president he has chosen to wear on his hat.
Athletes like LeBron James speaking out on politics. How do you feel about that?
I think it's a joke. I think Julia Roberts said it's great. One time she said, I pretend for a living. Why would you listen to me? And that's true. When it comes to actors and, overpaid, because I used to be a marketing director for a baseball team, and it's just, they're just overpaid. And again, just because you have a right to say something doesn't necessarily make it right. Does he have a right to do it? Sure. Do I think I'm a huge supporter of veterans and PTSD. To say anything about our military? Absolutely not.
Military people disagree with you here.
We talked about different ways to demonstrate, what that might mean to people in my community, in the military community. And I thought kneeling showed reverence in some way and respect in some way to those that fought and many of those that gave their life for what the flag and the anthem represents. People take a knee to pray. So I thought it looked more proactive. I thought it was important that he was alongside his teammates, embracing his brothers, whether they agreed with him or not.
Like former Green Beret Nate Boyer, who guided Colin Kaepernick's protest, which LeBron James adhered to as well.
LeBron James speaks out about politics a lot. Athletes are doing it more and more. What do you feel about that?
You could be smart, you could be a really good athlete, you could be really good in your field. It doesn't mean you necessarily are, know everything that's happening in the real world. Some of these people could be a little bit insulated, celebrities, people that are in the top 1% income-wise.
This is similar to what Jason Whitlock stated once upon a time.
Racism is an issue in America, but it is primarily an issue for the poor. It's not LeBron James's issue.
A sacrilegious line of thinking from a man who claims Jesus is king.
You're a man who makes $90,000 a year, which isn't exactly slave wages. What's your retort to that?
A well-paid slave is nonetheless a slave.
No matter how much money one has, speaking out is imperative.
LeBron James, an athlete, pro athlete speaking out about politics. What do you think of that? How does that make you feel?
I think they should keep their opinions quiet while they're in professional sports.
LeBron James, an outspoken athlete. A lot of athletes are outspoken about politics now. How do you feel about hearing from professional athletes and their political opinions?
I think that professional athletes and professional performers ought to wear the right hat. And I don't think that they should talk in such a way that they're not educated enough and have never done that type of job. I think they need to keep their opinions to themselves and just do their job, which is entertainment.
Not athletics, but it reminds me of this exchange.
The United States is not a bad nation. It's a noble nation. And then you go out there and you talk to a lot of younger people, and this is what gets me. That your constituency are not exactly political science PhDs, okay? They're impressionable kids.
I don't think that matters. I don't think you need to have
but they
a political
listen to you,
PhD to understand.
They listen to you.
Understand politics. To understand politics, I don't think you necessarily need that. And I don't think that politics are as complex as people like to make them seem or out to be.
Disgraced ex-Fox News host Bill O'Reilly saying, your constituency are not exactly political science PhDs to Chicago's own Lupe Fiasco was not thought out. These are real-life experiences. But they shouldn't speak on it? Why? But Ted Nugent should make it make sense. Let me see if I could break this down rather easily, okay? So, as I see it, there are many people within this movement that we heard from that said he shouldn't be speaking out. He shouldn't be doing it. And there was one individual who said, celebrities, their opinion doesn't matter. What was Donald Trump before he was president? He was a celebrity. And then when our very own Michael Schur asked, well, don't you think the same should be? And those same lines of thinking align. He said, well, Donald Trump didn't use his celebrity status. What world are we living in here? Seriously. And yet the same exact thought goes into what we heard from others within this piece that said LeBron James should not be speaking out. He should just dribble a basketball. They borrowed that from Laura Ingraham and, of course, Donald Trump, who said to protesting NFL players, black players, that they should get off the field if they protest, and called them SOBs. I would then posit this. If one were to think this way, which no one should, but if one were to think this way, should sports be off topic then? And should not be a category that they discuss if they are in politics? Should they shut up in politics? No, of course not. Why? Because some of the laws and also the power from these leagues, specifically at the top, donate to campaigns to curry favors down the line. And some of it has to do with a certain aspect that is very fragile when it comes to the NFL's relationship with Congress, specifically the NFL owners and Roger Goodell. But as I see all of this, and I credit Michael Schur and our TYT team for going out there, all I can think of is if the shoe was on the other foot and they were to bring up Kid Rock, or let's just go back for a second. How do you feel about rap music and musicians speaking out against Donald Trump? Well, how do you feel about Kid Rock? How do you feel about Ted Nugent? How do you feel about Mariano Rivera speaking out for Donald Trump? It would be a far different cry. It's akin to the MAGA movement absolutely hating Taylor Swift, hating her. But my goodness, if she came out in favor of Marsha Blackburn in Tennessee, they would be crowning her queen of this entire country. So it is essentially do as I say, not as I do, which is a Trump staple. If there's any story that we missed or any story that you would like to submit, get at me. I will throw up the graphic here. Get at me on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok. Send me a message, send me a DM. And again, there are only so many hours in a day. There could be stuff that we missed or even on the local level that you want us to cover. Get at us, submit it to us. We'll take a look. Appreciate you watching. Have a good day.